lives, but also how positively one impacts other people's lives. We are introducing an equipped northern Nigeria user to an equipped northern Nigeria user to
Right. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Mr. Yakub, can you hear me? Ms. Fauzia, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Are you good to go?
Yeah, I think we are good to go.
Right. What do you think? Can we start right away?
Yeah, it's already time,
Okay.
so we can go ahead.
Right. Okay then. Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Tariq Ahmed, and I'll be your host today. It is an honor to welcome you all to this important session organized by the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. I hope you are healthy given these difficult times with COVID-19. I know in the UK and in some other countries, it seems there are some challenges ahead, so please do stay safe. Today's session is on girls' child education, a panacea for the socio-economic challenges facing northern Nigeria. We all know that education holds the key to our economic development. Nonetheless, the UNICEF has reported that 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria. It has also been reported that about 10.5 million children in Nigeria aged between 5 to 14 years are not in school. Now, I think we need to stop and think about this statement. This is a number which is equivalent to the population of Greece or Sweden. Focusing on the North, the net attendance rate is reported as 53%. Now, the case is even worse for girls in the Northeast and the Northwest of the country, with attendance rate of about 47%. And what this means is more than half of those girls are out of school. Now, this is really worrisome for every concerned Nigerian, especially people from the North or the Northerners. Now, today we have 5 guests, including our special guest of honor, in His Highness Dr. Muhammad Sunusi II, whom will be giving us talks on different aspects regarding the girls' child education. Now, these amazing people have significantly contributed to this course. They are academics with eclectic pedagogical skills who spent years mentoring and facilitating teaching and learning at different levels across the world. The aim is that by the end of this session, each and every one of us identifies ways to contribute toward educating our young, vibrant minds, especially the girl child. Hopefully, each presentation will last for approximately 15 minutes, noting that the Emir, of course, only uses his timepiece. Please send your questions through the chat and Ms. Fauzia will pick this up and get them answered at the end of the session. I've already seen, quite a lot of familiar faces. Nonetheless, I think it's important for those that are just joining us today to get to know about the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program and how we can get involved. And for this, I'll call on our coordinator, Mr. Yakubu Udil, to give us a brief introduction about the AYMP. Mr. Yakubu, please, over to you now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Yakubu Sani Udil, and I happen to be the programs coordinator of the
Can you on your video, please?
Program. Okay.
Can you on your video?
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I happen to be the program coordinator of the Arewa Youth Mentorship programs, and today I would like to share with you some short synopsis about the AYMP. First of all, the AYMP is a platform actually that consists of Northern Nigerian experts from different fields of endeavor, be it academia, the business industries, and so on, even some of our societal bidmen. We have them here, they will come and they give contributions, especially concerning entrepreneurship, education, leadership training, and career guidance. Actually, we understand that our youth are left behind, especially in this field of mentorship, considering the milestone reached by our counterparts from different regions of Nigeria. So we come together to offer our contribution, the little we can. And this platform is an open platform, actually. We have mentors and a mentee, so everyone can serve as a mentor, provided that he has the requisite. We welcome all capable hands to come and contribute. We have a link that we will share with you in this platform. You can register to be a mentor, to contribute your quota, and you can as well be a mentee in this platform. We have a Telegram platform where we host at present around close to 3,000 youth who are benefiting from these programs. We have carried out a number of programs at present. You can find many from our YouTube channel and Facebook pages. So I will encourage especially our youth to take advantage of this very important gesture. We share very useful and relevant information in the platforms. So I will highly encourage us to take good use of it. And lastly, we, like I mentioned, the key areas we focus is education, the lower levels and the higher levels. For the higher levels, we especially focus essentially on scholarships, admissions, how to secure admissions globally in the international universities, and the exams to take, the TOEFL, the GRE, the preparation, and all this. Our experts are there to assist, and also entrepreneurship. We have invited some of the experts from industry to come and give a talk on how to prepare the mindset of our youth, and also the leadership training. We understand there is a need, a significant need to indoctrinate some sense of patriotism to our youth. And we understand, we realize actually that the youth will be the leaders of tomorrow. And we all like move now in a chaotic manner. So we feel there is a need to establish a platform where we will come together and identify our problems and learn to solve them together. I will not take much of your time. As we go through, I will take you back to Dr. Tariq to start the program. But I will highly encourage, like I said, everyone should register. There is a link that we will provide. You can be there either as a mentee or as a mentor. So we will put the program, the link there in the chats, and we expect to see you, and we expect to serve you in all capacities that we can. Thank you very much. Dr. Tariq, over to you.
Right, thank you very much. Yes, you've had Mr. Yakubu. You know, we've been doing this for quite a while, and of course, you can participate whether as a mentor or you can be a mentee. So, of course, the link will be posted on the chat, and then you can log in, or rather follow the link and then fill out your details. Now, without further ado, I'll call on our first guest today, in person of Professor Rabia Said. Professor Rabia is a physicist. She's a professor of atmospheric and space weather physics and a researcher at Barrow University, Kano. She is a fellow of the Institute of Applied Physics in Bern, Switzerland, the Ford Foundation, and the American Scientific Institute. She is a facilitator for the British Council Active Citizens Program, who encourages young people to develop efficient and peaceful communication skills for sustainable development of their communities. She has, or rather, she was one of the 9 people honored as women advocates and champions in Nigeria in March 2015 as part of the International Women's Day by the British Council. She is our mentor and our patron for AYMP. I'd like to welcome you for being here with us today. Professor Rabia, over to you. Can you unmute Professor Rabia, please? Fauziya, can we unmute Professor Rabia, please?
Okay.
Yeah, she's there.
Right.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It's quite my honor to be here today to give the opening remarks. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our royal father, our brother, the 14th Emir of Kano. It's quite an honor and a privilege to be able to share a stage with him today. My opening remarks is I will just speak broadly to the importance of why we are here today, and all the other the issues will be tackled by the other three panelists. So by way of waking us up and letting us know the importance of this meeting, I want to share the statistics from the World Bank, 2018, where it says that Nigeria has about 10 million out-of-school children. At that particular time, it was the world's highest. And this is for girls out of school. So that is something that we need to be aware of. And shortly, while we were given the publicity for this talk, I got a lot of mails and messages, and one of the messages that we're getting is that it's elitist. Why are we speaking in English? I gave some explanations, and I want to reiterate that explanation here. When Yakubu Sani Wudil contacted me about this program, Arewa Youth Mentorship Program, it was specifically to mentor our youth to be at par, surpass the other parts of Nigeria, because we realized that the northern Nigerian youth were not reaching up to that peak, or their visibility is not actually shown even when they have the ability. So we wanted to tackle that and be sure that the Arewa youth can hold their ground anywhere in society, both at home and abroad. And one of the things that we noted at that time was that people were saying that, okay, English is not equivalent to intelligence and so on. Yes, we agreed about that. But we thought that it was also important that if you're going to put yourself out there and be visible, you need to be able to project yourself in the language of the people who will take you seriously and will have where you can have funding. So, and then we also realized that most of the things that we talk about, we reach a recommendation. And by the time we reach that recommendation, we always hit the stumbling block of implementation. Because when we come to implementation, we realize that funding is very important. So then how do we get our messages across to where we can get funding to implement most of the things that we realize we need to do? So we realize that majority, the bulk of funding, even though as Muslims we were enjoined to do, to have endowments and so on, but the bulk of funding these days, they come from at the other side of the world. And this other side of the world, one of the major communication language is English. So we wanted to do our program in such a, because we put them out, we have them on all the social media and so on, where we can have people who would help us to fund in order to implement what we want to do. But then, because we realized also at home that we needed Hausa, we translate almost all the programs where we are in the pipeline of translating them and putting them also out for people to see. So that answers the question, why in English? And like I said, the funders, they have this bulk money because of the endowment and charities, the culture of charity. Someone will just die and then they will leave a large chunk of money, because I was a grant previewer for the Virginia Gildersleeve Fund, which is this lady who died and then endowed almost all her money for grassroots grants in developing countries. For 10 years, I was reviewing grants for grassroots programs in Africa, in the of Africa, and these are the kind of funding, and therefore we need to be able to put ourselves out there, what we are doing in English, and probably that is one of the reasons. And now, finally, there is just no way that we can, the importance of what we are doing vis-a-vis the girl child is so important, and we agree that it's a panacea for whatever development we need to see within Nigeria. This is because, as I always put out when I talk about girls' education, I say that for a girl, if you have more females educated, then you have more female educators, and then you have more female role models. And then if you educate a child, that girl child grows up to be a woman. She grows up to be a mother, a wife. She grows up to be a mother. She grows up to be a grandmother. So you see, it cascades. And then this leads to more having the mother's wife, grandmother. It leads to more educated girls and boys, because that's what, and that's the role that they would play. And then more educated male population. So it even serves the male population to have the girl educated, because definitely, for example, I have more boys than girls. And so I would educate them. So you see more population of educated males as well. And then a healthier society, less male population who abuse women, because you're giving them education, so less domestic violence. And then we have less vulnerable girls and women, because educated women, education empowers, and therefore more negotiation skills, there will be no violence. And then less ignorant decisions that are detrimental to health. So I would want to now conclude. Every time people know, I always bring in my physics also. I bring my physics. When I spoke the last time, I talked about the velocity time graph of development, of putting yourself and being visible. So I want to also rephrase Einstein's E equals to mc squared. So we look at this to define it in terms of effectiveness. The E will be our effectiveness. How effective we are is equal to the critical mass that we bring in and the speed that we use, and that is squared. E equals to mc squared. So we need a critical mass of people, and then we need to be able to move fast. And our fastness of movement will be a square of that speed, and that will lead to our effectiveness. So with this, I want to say thank you for having me make the opening remarks, and thank you for joining us, and we pray that the little effort that we put in would bring a lot of changes, not just here, and also grant us reward in the hereafter. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Thank you very much, Prof, for this opening remarks. Of course, as I've mentioned earlier, that you've been a mentor to us, and whenever we hear you speak, we always learn new things. Well, today, for us, the science students, and even for those that are not in the science students, of course, will have this formula at the back of our minds. It is once again my honor and privilege to welcome the 14th Emir of Kano, Malam Muhammad Sanusi. Well, His Highness needs no introduction, of course. We are all aware of his outstanding achievements, both locally and internationally. He was the first Northerner to take the role of the Managing Director of First Bank, the former Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the 14th Emir of Kano, an academic at the University of Oxford. His Highness has received several doctorate and awards. Some of these includes, of course, the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor of the Year for Sub-Saharan Africa by the Emerging Market Magazine for the years of 2010, 2011, and 2013. Central Bank Governor of Africa 2013 by the African Banker Magazine. African Central Bank Governor of the Year 2011 by Banker Magazine, Global Central Bank Governor of the Year 2011 by Financial Times of London, Man of the Year by various magazines and newspapers, and also awarded the national honor of the Commander of the Order of Nigeria, CON. He is a banker, an economist, a leader, an outlier with a sage character, an inspiration, and a role model to many of us here. His Highness is an ardent advocate for the free girl child education and has sponsored several children through school. In his Walton Town, people should educate the girl child in the village and not build mosques in places like Kano, where these places of worship are in abundance. I remember when I contacted His Highness regarding this session, his response was, if only you could send me the time. I'm sure all of us are eager to hear from him. So without further ado, I'll give the floor to our special guest of honor, His Highness, Dr. Muhammad Sanusi II. Thank you for being here with us today, sir. Fauzia, can we unmute His Highness, please?
Yeah, I did. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Sayyidina wa nabiyina Muhammad ibn Abdullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala. Can I confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, so well, thank you, Tariq, for this invitation, and thank you, Malam Wadil and Dr. Rabia for these opening remarks. It's a great pleasure to join you briefly in this webinar. And as I explained to Tariq, it's a very busy morning for me, but this is such an important subject that I feel it's important to give the time to join when this topic is on the table. As you probably know, I am a UN Secretary General Advocate for the SDGs, and my principal focus areas have been SDG 4, SDG 5, and SDG 8. SDG 4 on quality education, SDG 5 on gender equality, and SDG 8 on decent work. I have always held the view, and I see the theme of your webinar today, which is the girl child education as a panacea for socioeconomic problems. That if you're looking for a single SDG, a single silver bullet that has the greatest impact on the other SDGs, it is educating the girl child. And if you look at all the human development indices that we have and where we fall behind, all over the world, and northern Nigeria, frankly, is today one of the places where you're having a huge concentration of extreme poverty in the world. I'm sure you've seen all the numbers from the goalkeepers reports. The forecast is by 2050, 90% of the poverty in the world will be on the African continent, in sub-Saharan Africa. And half of that will be in two countries, Nigeria and the DRC. Sorry, 80%. So 40% of the poverty in the world will be in just two countries, Nigeria and the DRC. Now, when you say Nigeria, Nigeria can be many countries if you're looking at poverty indices. If you look at the Oxford HDI figures for 2016, 2017, you'll see that the incidence of poverty in Southwest Nigeria is only 20%. In the Northwest, it's 80%. You have states in the Northwest, states like Zamfara, where you have incidence of poverty in excess of 90%. Places like Kano, about 77%, but Kano being the most populous state in Nigeria means that 77% in Kano gives us the highest number of poor people in the entire country. And these are multidimensional indices of poverty. They deal not just with per capita income, they look at access to education, they look at access to basic healthcare, and they look at all those indices like infant mortality, maternal mortality, malnutrition, and so on. Now, if you think through it, what would be, if you had to choose out of a whole variety of SDGs, what would you focus on? What would you spend your money on? What would you spend your time on? What would you spend policy on? And you can't beat educating the girl child and the woman, because the educated woman gets you to reduce, for example, malnutrition. A lot of the malnutrition burden in northern Nigeria is not about money. Okay, in Kano today, over 50% of all the under fives have chronic malnutrition. You know, and you have higher numbers in a place like Kebbi. I think the NHDS has Kebbi at 66%. Now, when you think of malnutrition and what it does to a child in terms of the impairment of cognitive capacities, our children are already, you know, it's like going into a battle when you have a competitive country, a competition of states and ethnicities and faiths. You are going into the ring for a boxing bout with one hand already tied behind your back. Because a malnourished child already comes into the educational space with diminished cognitive capacities. Those children will find it difficult ever to become doctors or lawyers or physicists because the cognitive abilities have been impaired from childhood, from birth, from pregnancy due to malnutrition. So the damage that we did, and those are the children in the next 20 years are going to end up being the cleaners and the guards, while their colleagues from the south are the doctors in the hospitals, because they were not given the nutrition that would allow them to build the cognitive capacity to be medical doctors in the future. So that is the future. If half of our under fives are malnourished, that is potentially half of the youth in Kano in the next 20 years not being able to come out with very good academic qualifications. Now, only an educated mother gets to understand the importance of nutrition, and this is not about money. I keep talking about how in our villages, a man would plant beans and then come to the city and sell the beans and then go back and be drinking Coke and bread. And, you know, he simply does not understand the importance of beans for the nutrition of his child. And he doesn't understand the importance of good nutrition for the growth and development of the child. Education of the girl child, as Dr. Rabia said, ends the intergenerational cycle of illiteracy. All the statistics have shown that the children of an educated woman are 5 times more likely than those of an uneducated one to go to school. So you educate the girl, she ensures that her children are educated. So you deal with nutrition, you deal with out-of-school children, you deal with infant mortality. I mean, an educated woman knows how to go for her antenatal care, you deal with maternal mortality, and before you know it, all the other indices that give us this very low ranking human development indicators begin to improve simply because you focus on educating the girl child. One of the things I've done recently was to have what I call the Ms2 Sdg challenge. Working with the Queen's University, Canada, and in my capacity as chairman of the advisory board of 1 million teachers, we launched this challenge where we asked teachers to come with ideas for educating, for basically delivering scalable, efficient education to the child, particularly the rural child, particularly the girl child. We had about 750 entries from all over Africa. I went through a process and selected 10 of them. And we're going to launch this launch a fund in September to do that. But it's amazing how much you can do by simply continuing with this kind of program that you're having. We all have our own bit to put in. Now, obviously, we're not going to raise money to educate all the children in Kano, but you're going to raise enough money to choose certain parts of Africa where you make an impact over a 10-year period. And the idea is to see how many of those cohorts you can get to a point where they're able to get admission into secondary school and into university. For me, I think talking about the importance of educating the girl child is, we should have gone beyond that. I do believe that this is something that should be taken as a given. It's as given as the sun is up during daytime. I don't think anyone questions the importance. What we should ask is, do our policies, do our actions actually reflect the fact that we do understand that importance? And to do this, we've got to ask a number of very difficult questions. How much of the budgets in Nigeria, for example, at the federal and state level, how much of that really goes to education? How much of that goes to teacher training compared to what we spend on roads and roundabouts and bridges and so on? Because that is where you begin to talk about priorities. Tariq talked about mosques. I'm not sure I think that thing was highly sensationalized. I never really said we should stop building mosques. My point was, if you have a mosque, you have a school. If the University of Al-Azhar started in the mosque. If you go to Fez in Morocco today, the central mosque in Fez is the university. Is the University of Fez. I went there and I was amazed. You'd have a professor sitting on a chair with students around him, and he has this electronic board. Everyone is sitting on the floor with laptops, and you have a timetable. You've got students taking information technology. You've got students learning French language around a professor in a different corner of the mosque. You have students studying hadith. You have students studying the Quran. You have students taking physics. So you actually go into the mosque and see a timetable and see the different professors sitting on different chairs in the traditional sitting of the sheikh. And you go around and find that this person is actually teaching French or is teaching biology, and the children are there. And so you go to a village and you have a beautiful Friday mosque that is only used for prayer 5 times a day. And the children can't go to school because there's no school in the village. But if you have a mosque, you have a school. And if we converted, if we allowed, and look, frankly, what does it take after Salat al-Fajr to do your morning primary school? Between Salat al-Fajr and Dhuhr, you've completed your entire program for the primary school. And you can have an afternoon set after Dhuhr. So there is absolutely no reason why every mosque cannot be retrofitted to be a school. And then all you've got to do is have the teacher use technology, use tablets, to deliver education. And that allows us, because if you look at what Dr. Rabi is saying, talk about mass, you also talk about speed. You cannot move very fast if we are going to rely on this old traditional system of having to build brick and mortar schools in every village in order to educate children. We're spending so much money, we're doing it inefficiently, we're investing money in the wrong areas. Small issues like tweaking policy. Before, I think it was last year, there was a committee that we set up with Dr. Aliza Galadenchi and co, who looked at the issue of education in Kano. We have 44 local governments in Kano. We don't have a single female local government chairman. I think we have only 3, I don't know about now, but as at the last set of local government officers we had only 3 secretaries, local government education secretaries that were female. Now, how do you promote girl-child education? Okay, we have female secondary schools, and I think according to the statistics, the vast majority of all girls' secondary schools have male principals and male vice principals. I mean, all over the world, the educational space is where women are overrepresented in education and healthcare. Northern Nigeria, or maybe Kano, is the only place I see that women are underrepresented in the teaching profession. It's amazing. Now, how do you get a young girl in the secondary school who looks up and all her teachers are male, her principal is male, her housemaster is male, and you've got things that are, we have, yes, we give the girls and the boys the same education, but the girls and the boys are different. Imagine a 13-year-old girl who starts her menstrual period and she cannot talk to her teacher because they're all men. And then she runs away, and that is the end of her education. She disappears. So, a lot of the time we talk about money and we talk about funding, but we're not looking at the basic structures that we have, which flow from, to be honest, they flow from a mindset that does not take this initially as a big priority. And as a country, these are things we've not put on the table. And no matter how much we do as individuals, we have to change the entire mindset, social mindset, the attitude towards women. I set up a committee of scholars. They worked for 3 years on a law. That law sought to address issues of age of marriage, forced marriage, domestic violence, people basically marrying more wives than they can maintain, parents allowing their children to roam the streets without catering for their education. And these are the things that go to the roots of the problems of education and girl child education in Northern Nigeria. That law has been ready since March of 2019. It's not been passed. It wasn't passed by Kano. I sent the law to the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Governor of Plateau, Lalong. He has not even acknowledged the law. Now, every time we stand up in the North, we say we are concerned with problems of almajiri, problems of education, but these go to the roots, to the way we've structured ourselves. So long as parents can just take their girls out of, we have a Universal Basic Education Act that says it is an offense to marry off a girl before she finishes junior secondary school. Nobody's implementing that law. The law is there, but every day, people are marrying off their children after primary school or out of primary school or in junior secondary school, and not one person has said you have committed. The law actually says the imam or pastor who contracts the marriage, the house in which it is contracted, those who witness, they are all guilty of committing an offense under the act. Not once have I seen anyone protecting this girl who has been taken out of school and forced into marriage because it is a violation of universal basic education. So we have a duty to mentor the young people. We also have a duty to make sure that this conversation is elevated to the level of social discourse. It has to be an issue for us as Northerners. These are our children. And for those of us in an elite environment, we probably don't understand I always talk about how when I was in the central bank, I used to look at these numbers, these statistics, and think they were bad. But I didn't know how bad they were until I became an emir and started dealing with poor people and seeing where they live and seeing what their life is like. When you told someone is living on less than $1 a day, you then look at where he lives, you look at what he eats, you look at what he wears, you look at what his future is, and you begin to realize that a society that condemns 70, 80% of its population to that life can never know peace. What we have in terms of banditry and insecurity and terrorism, these all result from the lack of focus on education, especially the education of the girl child. So, one cannot overemphasize the importance of this, and one cannot do too much in encouraging you to make this a focus, but also to like I said, elevate it to a major social discourse. You have elections in Nigeria. I listen to all the debates, presidential, governorship, House of Reps, House of Assembly. I have never heard anyone who is seeking elective office say that if you elect me, I'm going to educate your girls. If you educate me, I'm going to invest in the training of female teachers. If you educate me, I'm going to build so many schools. If you educate me, I'm going to make sure that we reduce out of school children from X million to X million. It is not even an issue. I mean, this is a democracy, and a democracy should reflect the priorities of the constituents. You see that in America, whether it's tax issues or the rights of minorities or the access to work or infrastructure. People who want to be elected are supposed to tap into the principal problems of the population. How do you have a situation where you have 10 million out of school children, and yet the issue of out of school children is not a definitive element in deciding who becomes a political leader? How do you have a situation where women issues, domestic violence, forced marriages, arbitrary divorce are an issue, and you do not even create an environment where women have a role to play? Why should the Kano State House of Assembly give priority to issues around domestic violence and women? You have 40 men. You have 40 men in a 40-member House of Reps. There isn't a single woman. None of those men has been forced into marriage. None of them has been beaten by his husband. None of them has been divorced and left with children to take care of. They don't even understand the problems women have. So we've got to begin to address the attitude towards women from the very beginning. Why don't we, when we talk about a constitution and say there must be a minister from every state, why don't we also say at least 1/3 of the ministers must be women? Why don't we say at least 1/3 of our commissioners should be women? Why can't INEC designate 1/3 of the seats in the State House of Assembly and Federal House of Reps and Senate female-only constituencies? So you have women with a voice, and that is the only way you can deal with the girl child, because we continue to underestimate the role of the state, the role of power, the role of policy in these things. So I congratulate you for this. I would encourage you to continue with your mentoring and mentorship. I think beyond this, we need to ask, how do we engage with the public discourse in our country so that the whole concept of gender empowerment, gender equality, and gender equality is not an anti-Islamic concept. I mean, Islam recognizes the equality of gender. It's just that women are equal but different. What we object to is there is a discourse on a lack of difference, which is happening in the West, and which has led to all the LGBTQ discourses. A man can marry a man, a woman can marry a woman. That is a discourse of a lack of difference. We recognize the differences between men and women, but we affirm the equality, and that equality means they must have access to the same opportunities to grow, to develop. Our sons and daughters must have those opportunities. Just as an aside, I'm aware that there's a 14-year-old young girl poet who's watching through her mother's system. Her name is Aisha Waziri Galadima. If you're listening, congratulations. And those are the kind of young people we want to we want to encourage. So I'm just giving her a shout. I'm sure her mother will be very happy because she told me her daughter was going to join this. So you're welcome. And we'll continue. I read your poem today. 14-year-old wrote a beautiful poem on Northern Nigeria, has a great, bright future. And those are the kind of girls that we want to have, grow to be poets, philosophers, doctors, engineers. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I haven't looked at my time as usual. I look at the time and then I decide how much it's when to stop. So 15 minutes, I think, by my watch. Thank you very much. And I wish you successful deliberations.
All right. Thank you very much, Your Highness. It's always a pleasure to have you. We really appreciate sparing your time to be here with us today. You've talked quite about the main problems. Of course, most of us here know the problems, but then we've talked about actually going back to the drawing board and thinking about the policies and things like the budget. Have a look at what the country is spending on education this I think that really need to be reviewed, just so that we improve the girls' child education. We really appreciate your time once more. And for now, I think the next speaker is Hajia Asma Yahya. I would love to give a detailed introductions of our speakers, but nonetheless to keep the time. Of course, His Highness was on time, but to keep the time so that I don't spend much time on the introductions, I will ask the next presenters to briefly introduce themselves before the presentations. I'll call on Hajia Asma Yahya, who's the director of Excel College, to give us a talk on the girl child and the burden of higher education in northern Nigeria. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Asma Yahya. I am an educationist, and I've been an educator for the past 30 plus years. Now, master's degree in biology. I've been a lecturer and a classroom teacher, and I've been running Excel College now for the last 25 years. I hope that suffices. Now, I would say Assalamu alaikum to all, and in particular to His Royal Highness, who is on this platform and who is very passionate about the girl child education issue. I would want to address the issue of the challenges, which brings us to how the solutions can be found. I'm very happy that past speakers, Hajar, Professor Rabia and His Royal Highness have touched girl child education. In any society, the quality of that society is completely and directly involved with the quality of the women of that society. And when we say women in terms of mothers, wives, and daughters, the woman spends most time with the children and nurtures the child. So the society is a direct reflection of the quality of women that are in that society. Education, I'm going to talk about, is not just Western. Education, Western as well as Islamic education. Because when you have Western education without the spiritual kind of nourishment, then there is a problem. Now, this discussion would not have been taking place if we have maintained the quality of education that we had started with since the 60s. I know that we have those older than us women who have attended Queen Elizabeth School and have been involved in exchange programs since in the 60s. Now, previously, a primary school student can effectively write a letter, can communicate, and can do very well. So the issue now, there's a shift. There's a shift in not just enrolling girls into school. Yes, they are enrolled, but what quality of education are they getting? This dampens the spirit of most of our people who see almost no change in a girl that has gone through primary school and cannot write a simple letter in Hausa language. Northern Nigeria has to realize that we have myriad problems which are peculiar to us. As such, we have to sit down and create possible solutions that we will be able to implement and create that mass movement that Professor Rabia has said. The number of students that are in school now are much greater, though we have population issue. But if in the 60s and early 70s, a parent is reported to the traditional head, the Ungwa or Dagachi, for stopping a girl from going to school, now virtually nobody cares. So the government and the parents are equally responsible for this issue that we have on our hands today. Quality of education. Let the girl child get education that should be able to communicate, should be able to write, should be able to speak. When I say write, I'm not even talking about English. I'm talking about even Hausa. Some will pass through primary school, but they cannot sit and write Hausa properly. We can all see some of the things they write on social media. A Hausa teacher will almost die seeing how they spell words and how words are written. So the quality, we have to address the quality. And this mentorship program, I'm very happy, is something that creates the issue of volunteering. If we can volunteer to serve our communities, you know, with pro bono kind of services, I think we would greatly reduce some of these issues where quality is concerned. At the same time, we must agree that since there is no monitoring of how girls just drop out of school anyhow, whatever the case is, this is not followed and implemented, just like His Royal Highness said. Now, what do we do to give those children a second chance? I have caused to know students, those college, but other students that come from other areas who have stopped or JSS 3. Now, how many know that where married women can go and continue their secondary school education? Previously, WTC Kano had a married women section, even their hostels were different, where they continued and got their grade 2 certificate, which was stopped. Now, something has to be created when something is stopped. Now, in Kano, we know, and Gidan Galadima and the library accommodate married women to continue their education under the Agency for Mass Education. These are needed, more and more are needed, because students sometimes are withdrawn, married off after a child or two, are divorced, and they are very intelligent. And there is the zeal for them to try to continue their education. I know of a lady who just finished class 7 then in primary school, and she was married, she had 2 kids, and she was divorced. That was after about 10 years of leaving primary school. She went back, and today she holds 2 degrees. So there has to be an environment that is conducive for us to stem this dropping out and no opportunities for the students to continue. Another challenge is career choice. I must say that we have girls who want to go into different set of careers, but there are cultural inhibitions and there are issues where they are psychologically not at ease. Today, we must admit that our society says if a woman is educated to a high level, she is not of marriageable age, she is not this. For how long can this continue? Now, we have, yes, an increase of females in the medical profession, but there are quite a number of girls that feel that, should I go into that profession because I might not find a husband to marry? We have to do as much as possible, and that has to do with sensitization of our communities, which is one of the issues which the Arewa youth mentors should also include, where let the girls go for careers whereby it helps themselves, the society, and the families as well. So these are also issues whereby the girl child faces a challenge. Now, the next thing is a family-friendly environment. Just because there's a blueprint in the world for this and that, we should do things to fit our own society. His Royal Highness has pointed out that in Morocco, the mosques are used as schools. You see, if they had to stick to having a desk and a chair, having a board on that the teacher has to write on, or brick and mortar classes, this will not happen. Let us also use what we have so that we'll be able to stem this issue of lack of educating the girl child. We all agree that there are opportunities in the sense that Professor Rabia was talking about opportunities of scholarships, but first the opportunities should be here. The government should be able to give more scholarships to girls than boys. They should give more scholarships to girls than boys because the girls will not nurture boys also. I'm happy now that there are scholarships that are abound, but the priority does not favor girls. I think out of 10 scholarships, girls do not get up to 3. So we have to have local scholarships here also. If you have 4 kids and your gardener has, or your maygard or whatever, give 1 or 2 scholarships to their kids. Don't just give them money or give them something. Pick a child and sponsor that child. Because our population, honestly, is not now very favorable with the government providing everything for the populace. Now, get somebody, sponsor them, and see how you can nurture them for them to be able to realize their dreams. Those scholarships, slots, but maybe at least that's not enough. We should be able to rise up and give opportunities. We have to be
It seems the network's a bit stuck. I'm not sure if it's just me or everyone's.
No, I think maybe her network has some problem.
Right. Hadia, are you still there?
She's up.
It's right. It's unfortunate we didn't get to hear the end of her presentation, but nonetheless, Adia has already talked about quite some sensitive issues. Picking on one, just for example, she talked about having the favorable environment, and this still is in line with the MS comment about using mosques as learning centers. And this, of course, the COVID-19 is a pointer in a lot of these developed countries. We see universities or schools with multi-million buildings, but nonetheless, these are all, will I use the word useless in these cases, because now teaching and learning is done virtually. And she's also talked about scholarships. I think this is very important. My parents do own a school. I know the kind of struggle that they're facing. It's really important that we identify these kids that we can support, whether it's in the form of scholarships, stipend, in whatever way that we can help out. Right, thank you very much for sparing your time to be with us here today. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned, we weren't able to get to hear the end bit of your talk, but nonetheless, we've, I think, learned a lot from it. The next presentation is by Dr. Aisha Umar, who's an academic fellow, Nigeria Center for Reading Research and Development. And her presentation is on teaching effective reading skills in the early grade, laying the foundation for functional girl-child education. I'd like to give you the floor so that you can give us your talk. Thank you. Do we have Dr. Aisha?
Aisha, what was the son?
Dr. Aisha Umar.
Okay.
Can you please unmute me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Dr. Aisha. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Our royal father, the 14th Emir of Kano, the organizers of this webinar, distinguished participants, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon to talk on what I have always been passionate about, that is young child education, and I have decided to relate my topic to what we do at the Nigeria Center for Reading Research and Development, Bayero University, Kano. As far back as 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has identified education as a fundamental human right that should be available to all citizens irrespective of age, sex, and nationality. And this is because education is of paramount importance to all aspects of human existence. It's the key that opens several doors. And to say the least, the greatest favor we can do to ourselves is to acquire education. And the greatest favor we can do to others is to provide them with education. And this is particularly so for the young child who needs to be prepared, who needs to be provided with all the skills, the information, and the confidence that will lead her to being a better mother and wife. It has been established by researchers that young child education is crucial for national development. And this has been substantiated by the previous speakers. This is because education of everyone starts from the family. Oh, okay. This is because the education of everyone starts from the family. and the mother is the first teacher. Therefore, educating the young child will lead to the production of mothers who are educated and who will in turn educate their children and care for their families effectively. So the responsibility of being a future wife and mother is a wondrous responsibility which the young child has to be adequately prepared for. Hence the need to equip the young child not only with education, but functional education. And by functional education, I mean the education in which the ability to perform productive tasks is more emphasized than the education that will aim at producing ideological conformity and so on. So it is a kind of education that can equip a child with the knowledge and skills needed for the performance of productive and developmental tasks. And one way of providing such functional education is through the inculcation of reading culture. And this can be done through teaching effective reading skills in the early grades. We all know that reading is the most significant skill in teaching and learning because it enables the reader or the child to have access to sources of information and ideas published in text and other materials, especially textbooks, as well as those available through the modern media of communication, which have now become a rich source of instruction and knowledge. So it is an engaging, reading is engaging, and it brings about immeasurable knowledge, pleasure, and fosters speed in the learning process. The previous speaker, Hajia Asma'u, made mention of the children's inability to read fluently or to even read at the appropriate level. So part of this problem, or what is a part of the issue, or what is responsible for this problem is partly lack of adequate reading instruction right from the early grades. So, like I said earlier on, education is a human right, and reading to recognize the reading symbols, to comprehend the meaning and develop the ability to do this quickly and accurately is at the heart of reading instruction. The UNESCO report in 2011 on learning assessment for developing countries identifies reading as a core indicator of the quality of education and an essential early part of the curriculum in schools all over the world. So poor reading ability in school is among the most powerful predictors of future disadvantage in terms of educational, social, and economic outcomes, because functional literacy is normally the gateway to all forms of advancement. So considering the role of the young child, the role of education as a transformational force in sustainable, the reappraisal of teaching and learning processes is necessary in order to achieve the kind of functional education necessary to prepare the young child for future challenges. Teaching reading skills is not as easy as it appears to be, and it is more complex than most teachers and parents think, because it comprises of a set of 7 basic skills, that is the phonological awareness, the phonics, vocabulary development, fluency, oral language, comprehension, and reading. So the mastery of all these basic skills is necessary for an individual to be truly literate in whatever language the learning takes place. Therefore, effective curriculum program in early grade reading include instruction on all the component skills within the context of a language in which instruction takes place. And a framework for organizing early grade literacy instruction is known as the 5 T's and C. The 5 T's referring to teaching, the time, the text, the texting, the language, and the curriculum. Research has confirmed that teachers who have a solid understanding of early grade reading pedagogy are more able to implement sound instructional practices. Appropriate time should also be allocated to reading in the primary school, especially in the early grades, because it's a level where the children, where the brain is fresh, the children are curious to learn, and so on. So the moment those reading skills, the moment the reading culture is inculcated into the children, they will grow up to be good readers. The text is another factor. What type of text do we present to our children? What type of text do we teach our children? It's very common to find our primary school children being taught to read text in which they don't share the experiences expressed in those texts. So it's important to provide textbooks that are culturally relevant to the children, especially the girl child. The language of instruction is another factor. We tend to insist that we must introduce the English language to the children as soon as they start attending school, which is a very wrong practice. Research has proved that when children are taught to read in their mother tongue, it becomes much more easier for them to transfer those skills, to transfer their knowledge from the mother tongue to the second language. So the curriculum, too, is another important factor to be considered in the teaching of reading skills. The curriculum, there's a body that is responsible for providing the curriculum. Therefore, the curriculum should be adhered strictly, but there is no harm when we try to adapt some aspect of the curriculum to suit our peculiarity. Just like I mentioned earlier of culturally relevant text, at the primary school, it's the responsibility of the teacher to identify the texts to be used in class, especially storybooks and so on. So the teacher can now.
Sorry to cut you off. Yes, we're running out of time now. If you could just wrap up.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The essence of going into all these details of teaching reading skills, teaching reading skills to the girl child is that I want us to realize that teaching is not reading is not a gift of nature. Nor is it a passive activity. It is a conscious, psychological, and social activity. So the ultimate aim of teaching effective reading skills, especially to the young child, is to produce excellent readers, so that she will be able to find information, to read, to seek for information, to read materials that will develop in her a greater awareness of the social condition around her, as well as information that will propel the young child into functional and enhanced living standards and success in life, so that she'll be able to carry out the responsibility of being a wife and a mother effectively. The research has established that children who grow up from a rich print environment, or who have parents who read to them, are more likely to have greater achievement, in greater learning achievement, because they will be able to read well and understand or develop the culture of reading that will enable them achieve success in life or their academic endeavors. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for this wonderful talk. Of course, reading it's very important to our development in general. You've mentioned quite a number of good points, but because of the time constraint, I'll just pick on one, which you talked about teaching in mother's language. I know our special guest of honor today has been an advocate of this. And I think in one of his talks, he talked about really why are other countries, Arabian countries or, some Asian countries, why are they, learning in their languages while we can't do that in Hausa? And I think that's something that we can, go back and have a look and see how we can incorporate this. Because as you said, it's much easier because there is no barrier between, there is no language barrier. You're learning, or rather you're reading from your mother's tongue. So you get to understand what you're reading more. Thank you very much. Without further ado, I'll call on our next speaker today, who is a lecturer at the Department of Adult Education and Community Services at Bayero University, Kano, in person of Dr. Awal Halilu. His talk today is on mentorship and support for girls' education issues and challenges. If you can please unmute Dr. Awal Halilu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Ta'awuz billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. We can hear you.
Okay. I'm happy to be in the midst of my mentors and teachers, His Royal Highness Dr. Aisha, who is my teacher. I'm happy also to talk on issues of mentorship and support for the girl child. I'll be talking not from academic perspective, but more on practical issues of mentorship and support. With experience from my eligible work from NEI Plus, Northern Education Initiative, UNICEF, and also as the chair coalition for education for all Kano State, issues of mentorship in Northern Nigeria in relation to the girl child is really in small nature as far as mentorship is concerned. Here in Northern Nigeria, for example, there's issue of lack of more, or there is less role models as far as women are concerned in Northern Nigeria. And that causes a lot of problem as far as education is concerned. we usually ask, what is the reason or why are we having low or small number of role models as far as Northern Nigeria is concerned? His Royal Highness have said much on maybe comparing the North with the South. Take a good example, as far as women are concerned in Northern Nigeria, from the home, we lack. Majority of our daughters now are growing up without role models from the home, in the community, and in the larger society. There are less women or role models to look into as far as women are concerned. Maybe when you look at majority, comparing the figures that are out, the World Bank, and also issues of SDGs and others, you see majority of women, or the out of school children, majority are women. And the majority of these women are from Northern Nigeria. And most of the women in Northern Nigeria, the mothers are not literate. So they do not have that interest in education, and therefore it affects the totality of women. And majority of the women, for example, their concerns are thinking of how to prepare the children for marriage, ceremonies, and others. So instead of investing in education, the concern of most mothers who are supposed to serve as a role model for these children or our daughters and sisters is investment for a marriage that will be seen and talked in the society. So that causes a lot of problem. One other issue in relation to this issue and mentorship and support for girl child in Northern Nigeria, you talk about issues of maybe the space of providing this mentorship. Take Kano, for example. We have gone around so many communities. Take education and health only in Northern Nigeria. When you take education, if you train a single woman as far as education is concerned, she is supposed to be a role model for other women. Then take her to rural area, she'll run away, or maybe have a forced transfer to urban area, instead of staying in the rural area to serve as a role model within her immediate community. Then this issue of also space of providing mentorship as an issue, when you move into the rural urban cities, those who are supposed to be mentors for other girls within the urban cities, issue of poverty is bedeviling the urban city as far as Northern Nigeria is concerned. So the women who are supposed to serve as role model for other women are too much engaged with so many other things, to the extent that they do not have time for these other women within the urban cities. So this has caused a lot of issues for women and setback for women as far as education is concerned. One issue as far as Northern Nigeria is concerned in the issue of mentorship is that when you look at majority of who are supposed to be mentors for young girls in Northern Nigeria, majority of them are illiterate or not literate. Then how can they provide mentorship for majority of these women? We lack that a lot in Northern Nigeria, as said by other speakers. Then issue of mentorship, one other thing disturbing us as far as Northern Nigeria is concerned, is that not only those who are supposed to be role model are running away from the rural cities and rural communities and leaving the young girls there, then the scope of modeling or models who are supposed to be models as far as Northern Nigeria is concerned is too narrow compared to other parts of the country. So the women, majority of the women are left alone. Narrow in the sense that some women are even afraid to serve as role model because of the nature of the society or misinterpretation of the religion and also culture, which causes a lot of problem. And not only that, in northern Nigeria, compared to others, when you look at the models, role models that we are supposed to have, who are supposed to serve as mentors for these young girls, majority of them are not the right type of role model we are supposed to have for these women, and that causes a lot of problem. Then maybe the campaign for girl child education, the government is trying, the civil society organization are trying. We have a lot of enrollment, but in terms of retention and completion, people or the role models and others who are concerned are not putting much effort there. We are only concerned about enrollment. Then they are enrolled because of maybe early marriage, poverty, and others. We are not concerned about what is happening to their retention, this girl child, what is happening to their completion. So this is a really a big issue as far as girl child education is concerned. The role models who are supposed to be mentors are supposed to look into issues of not only enrollment, but retention and completion of these girls. So what is happening there is that the media is also an issue. Maybe the media not only campaign about enrollment, the media should use role models to mentor these young girls in the radio, television, social media, and other platforms, so that these young girls will have opportunity to see role models who serve as mentors. For example, in the civil society organization, sometimes we organize a platform where role models or mentors who have moved from one activity to the other in terms of achievement in life will be called upon to share their experience. I remember there was an experience they shared. Early marriage, or when you are married without completion of school, should not be a barrier for you not to continue your education. So she cannot do that as a young girl unless there are other role models to serve as mentors to support these young ladies. And in terms of support, these are issues which surround issues of mentorship. In terms of support, the young girls in northern Nigeria, as far as girl child education is concerned, needs not only material, they need material support in terms of their education, uniforms, and other things. There are a lot of issues surrounding the young girl that she needs support, not only financial, but they need psychosocial support. This psychosocial support, for example, in terms of guidance and counseling, in terms of community-based counseling, when you go to a majority of our communities in northern Nigeria, I know of recent in Kano State, we moved to a community where there is no one girl, that has attended school. School here, not only in terms of formal education, but including Islamic type of education. Then that is really a problem. So you see all these communities, there are thousands and thousands of such communities as far as northern Nigeria is concerned. So we need to reach out to them as mentors, as role models, so that we can support them as far as northern Nigeria is concerned. So apart from this support, finally, I would say they need some opportunities. There are opportunities to reach out to this, for example, girl child. They are suffering from a lot of abnormalities within the society, which really affects their access to education. So apart from the formal education, there are non-formal education which Hajia Asmau has stated some. So we can leverage on that non-formal education so that our women, despite married, despite a lot of challenges, they can have access to education from the non-formal sector. And as part of the support, there is need to create opportunities. These opportunities is to create a safe space for these young girls to discuss and have opportunity to interact with their mentors in real lifetime to understand the situation and the kind of hurdles these mentors have undergone in order to reach the peak of their life as far as education is concerned. So issues of mentorship and support for women in Northern Nigeria, of course, there are a lot of issues and challenges, but if these young girls are really supported, they will have a lot of, will have increase in enrollment, increase in retention, and increase in completion, inshallah. With this little talk, I hope in Northern Nigeria we can support our young girls and also mentor them to let them see role models among women that will serve as an eye-opener for them to reach the peak of their career or of their dream as far as education is concerned. Thank you.
Yes.
And I hope with this little I've said, due to time, it seems my time is up.
Right.
I've said.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Awal Halilu. I know it is a struggle for a lot of our panelists today. Being lecturers, they are used to speaking for hours. So this constraint of 15 minutes, I understand it's quite difficult for a lot of you.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. Of course, mentoring, it's a very, or rather a role model. It's a very important factor. What you'll notice in children that are just growing up, 2 or 3 year olds, is they tend to copy from their parents. And I think as as people develop, of course, there is need to make sure that that gap or that need for a role model, someone to look up to, it's there. So you've made quite a lot of raised a lot of important points about how we can actually engage to ensure we have these role models. So thank you very much for sparing your time to be with us today. And our last speaker here today is Dr. Maryam Garba. Nonetheless, before that, I would like to acknowledge one of our trustees in person of Professor Farouk Sarikim Fada. He's been here with us since the start of the program. Thank you very much. I would also like to acknowledge Hajia Hawa Sadiq Muhammad, who's the 14th President, Association of Professional Women Engineers in Nigeria. Thank you for being here with us today as well. So I'll now call on Dr. Maryam Garba, who's also part of the organizing committee of Arewa program. She is a lecturer at the Department of Mathematics by University Kano, and her talk will be on empowering the girl child, a collective responsibility. Dr. Maryam, we have unfortunately 11 minutes.
Okay, Dr. Tariq, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and good afternoon, all our listeners. I recognize the presence of His Royal Highness Mohammed Sanusi, Professor Rabia, Hajia Asma'u, Dr. Aisha, Dr. Awal, for very insightful discussions on the topic of girl-child education. It just seems that I'm left with nothing to talk about with all your contributions, but I'll try to fit in somewhere. So whenever the issue of girl-child education, the problems of girl-child education are mentioned, I'd see them as a set of complex issues and challenges. Complex issues and challenges that surround primary, secondary, to a larger extent, tertiary and health education for girls. And we've had a lot of statistics about the number of girls in school. I need not to repeat those statistics, but in a very recent study by the UNICEF, we saw a population of out-of-school children in Nigeria rising from 10.5 million to 13.2 million, which is the highest in the world. So, and it has also been identified that most of these children are from the northern part of Nigeria. So this is really sympathetic. This is really a cause for concern. And of course, numerous factors have accounted for these high numbers. And my speakers, our previous speakers have highlighted a lot of these factors ranging from economic, political, sociocultural, environmental, and religious factors. And a lot of studies have been conducted to unveil these problems of girl-child education, and a lot of solutions have been suggested. However, most of the solutions, I would say, are heavily reliant on the government. I'm not saying it shouldn't rely on the government, but what can I do? What can you do as a member of the society? What can you do as a productive member of the society to help empower the girl child so that she can understand her potentials, or so that she can prove her potentials? So this is my topic today. So I'm not here to talk about what solutions the government can provide, what solutions can the head of my constituency provide. I'm here to talk about solutions I can provide, you can provide, Arewa Youth Mentorship Program can provide, and everyone can help provide that solution. It's not going to bring an end to the problem, but it can help reduce the consequences or the things we see as the problem of girl-child education today. So my first point is the provision of education. Of course, I'm not going to be providing education for the girl child. It is the responsibility of the government to do that. So still, I can't run away from the government. There's a saying that says, if you educate the girls, you give them the weapon to conquer the world. So education is really, really very important here. And the educated girl knows her rights. She can perform a job using her acquired skills. In fact, she can take care of herself independently. And this is the things we want to see. This is the things we want to see in our girls today. So, but however, the provision of education is the responsibility of the government, and the parents to some extent need to provide that support for the girl child. So even though it's an important point to raise, it's a solution that comes from the government, it's a solution that comes from the parents to also send the children to school. So another point which might seem somewhat less important, but I take it to be very important because I know it has played a crucial role in my life, is about appreciating the people around you. You need to appreciate the people around you. You need to appreciate the women around you because they deserve to be appreciated. So girl child education or girl child empowerment really begins at the family level, whether it is your wife or it is your daughter. You need to let them know that they are important. You need to learn to appreciate them. You need to have that, put that feeling in them that they are valuable and they are also equal to everyone else. They are not different from other members of the family. Whether it is in your neighborhood or it is in your place of work, you need to be able to support those girls who need support and let them know that you care, because this is really very important. Another point I want to raise is the role that female teachers play in the life of our girl child. So the female teachers are really key features that we see in schools. So not only do they contribute to the enrollment rate for girls, They also contribute to the retention and completion rate for those girls as well. They really contribute to their academic performance. They contribute really a lot. They contribute to providing a positive experience for those girls in school. So they really play a very crucial roles, and His Royal Highness and other speakers have mentioned they really serve as role models for our girls in school, because girls need to see women in school because they are up to a very big challenge. We want to be someone in the society. We want to be able to achieve something. But if they can see that people have already achieved, a woman in their shoe have achieved, they hear stories about women achieving, but this one is they see them live as those people who are going to be teaching them. So I'm not really underestimating the role of male teachers in school. Male teachers do play crucial roles in school. And I've got a very interesting true life story, which I want to share with you very briefly about, I'm not going to mention location. So it happened in the northern part of Nigeria. And a student in his university years nearly dropped out of the university because he is struggling financially to meet up with living expenses and fees. And during that time, the head of his department agreed to help him financially so that he can successfully completed his degree, with the agreement that if he finished and get a job, he's going to be paying him back his money kind of little by little, not really paying him all at once. And as I am speaking to you now, where is that student? He is the head of that department. And this is the people we want to see there. So if you can think of this, you will see how passionate he's going to be to support others. So in any society, there's no way you can succeed without thinking about those people around you. So the community is very important. Your immediate society is very important. Everyone is important. Another point I want to raise is about what we do in Arewa Youth Mentorship Program is be a mentor to a girl child. Look around, reach out to girls in your community and be a source of encouragement to them. Encourage them, tell them that you can make it, tell them you can do it, and show them how they can do it. And this is what they want. This is what they really need, because your act of kindness or your act of trying to help them is going to be a kind of a saving grace for the life of a young girl. You will not know how much that made an impact until you mentor someone. And after so many years of succeeding, he comes back to tell you how that your mentorship that you might think is just a little piece of advice that you have given him is going to go a long way in his life. My last and crucial point is to help young women to join youth engagement programs. Again, what we are doing here, what others are doing. A lot of people are making great efforts to come up with huge engagement programs that will push them to learn and acquire those skills. Because I believe with the right skills, a young girl can be self-reliant, she can be independent, and she can be strong. And also with the right mentorship program, I mean the right in quotes, the right mentorship program from a particular one of the youth engagement programs, girls can take part in activities for women empowerment, and they will in turn be able to empower other people in their localities. So it's just a big, it's a trend. It's a trend that we don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know when it's going to end. Because once you mentor someone, he's going to be motivated to mentor another person. I believe this type of initiative programs should be made available to in any area, and irrespective of it being a remote area or in the city, it should be made accessible by these girls. So it should be easily accessible. It is something that we should have a cause for concern about that. So, sorry, I'm just having some network issues, but I will try and stop my video and round up just 1 minute, Dr.
Right.
Tari.
We have 1 minute, yeah.
Yep. So the youth engagement services, as I am mentioning, will help teach these young women how to tackle life challenges, and they will live a more productive life. One thing I want to mention is I recently came across an NGO here in Kano. I was really highly impressed by the NGO. It's called Sustainable Dynamic Human Development Initiative. Apologies, it's such a long name. And why I was impressed with this, with their initiative, is I've seen quite a lot of NGOs working towards youth engagement programs, but I really like their own initiative in the sense that they come up with a youth program. They are not only targeting youth to get involved in the program for money making or for business making. It will help them to make the money, but what happens is like they are more focused on finding solutions to people, especially in the remote areas. So for example, one of their programs was teaching women how to make some baby foods. So that will not only help them to sell the baby foods, but it will also help them to feed their own babies. So just like His Royal Highness mentioned, a farmer taking his beans to sell them out, not thinking about the nutritional value of the beans. So this type of programs, so one of the programs that I've attended was really trying to educate the women that those things they have around them are those things that will provide valuable solution to their problems. Make baby foods with resources or with raw materials that you have readily available, wheat, maize, rather than taking wheat out as an expensive commodity and selling it out. So these are the kind of things we want to see. We want to see sustainable initiatives. We want to see initiatives that are going to be solving people's problem. We don't want to see initiatives that are just one-off initiative delivered to the youth. They might not even be interested in carrying them along. We want to see at the least teaching a woman or a girl child in her home how to do something that even if she's not going to do it as a business, she can use it at home. She can use it to provide some solutions to the nutritional problems that she has. Finally, if you instill the right values in a girl child when she is still young, she will grow up into a strong woman. This is a fact. Girl education can make a lifelong difference to not only an individual's life, but to the larger society. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Maryam. I think you've summed it all up. Of course, one of the main aim we set of this webinar is actually to identify how can each and every one of us here today make an impact on the girl child education. So we've had quite a lot of ways that we can do that. I hope that we've identified which is easier for us, whether it's mentorship, whether it's helping out with funds, whether, there's quite a lot of solutions that have been proposed. So I call on each and every one of us here today to actually put that into practice, find a girl child and help out, whether it's through education or mentoring, as I've mentioned. I think at this point, we're getting towards the end of the session. What we have left is the Q&A session. And for this, I'll call on Ms. Fauzia Yakasai. I'm sure she might have received a number of questions for which our panelists would then tend to address. Thank you very much. Ms. Fauzia, over to you.
Okay, I think most of the questions have been answered. I think Hassan Ubali, he said he wants to make some points. I don't know if he has a question or not. Let me unmute him. If you have any question, you can use the raise hand button and then I'll call on you. Hassan Ubali, okay.
Yes, Fauzia, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, as I have make it a written, I wish I had made some references with regard to the topic, because it's not about the question, it's about the entire topic, since the issue has been discussed of the girl child education, which I said specifically to Northern Nigeria. My question is that how can the government confront the issue? Because the issue of child education or rather dropout is entirely in the hands of the government. So what the government is doing to bring an end to this age-long program? This is my question. Thank you.
Okay. Who is going to answer that? Prof, maybe I should call on Prof.
Well, I don't know if I'm the right person to answer this question. Maybe somebody who has a more positive mind about government than me. I believe that one of the reasons why we set up this was we wanted to be able to do this. This is something that governments will do, but we thought it was not being done. So that brings me back always to this critical mass that I keep talking about now. We need to build that critical mass. Perhaps, in my view, once we are able to have that mass and things are working out and we are able to carry out programs, I think government will then realize that I don't know how to put it. It would be like aikin da ya kamata su yi ne sai su ga wasu suna yi. Maybe that will ginger them and prompt them to start putting more effort into it. And then by then, once we've grown that strong, then we will be able to push policy. But the fact that we kept on keep waiting for government to do this thing for us, I think that has been the bane of our problems. And I just think that we need to just sit up and do. And probably once we have, once you have success, it's easier to go to policymakers, and then it will lead to legislature, and then probably it becomes law, and then that can be done. His Royal Highness mentioned that there are legislatures, there are policies in place, and so on, but there's no enforcement. There's no enforcement. So that's my take. I don't know. I'm not the one. Probably Mami Asma will have something to say better.
Okay, I think she's on. Asma, if you.
Okay, just like I said, maybe it was lost when the connection was poor. You see, the establishment of continuing education centers. Presently, in Kano, we only have library. We can have centers where these girls that have dropped out, maybe in JS2, in JS3, or SS1, could be accommodated within some conducive hours and get registered for external examinations, which makes it easier for us not to lose those that mass of women that have fallen off the grid. They can now come back again. And if there needs to be a partnership between an NGO or the government, so that we could do a continuing education center, have pro bono teachers who, maybe all the retired teachers who can give some of their time, maybe a stipend or nothing at all, then those that have fallen off the grid will now come back. And you will be surprised, some of them are very, very intelligent. Let's have the push, lobby the government to have more continuing education centers to start with. And then we move from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Haji Asma. And the next person is Engineer Mukhtar. I think you have your hand raised, if you can speak.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk, and also thank you for the program. One of the presenters mentioned very important point that I think I have some input on. The quality of education the girl child and also the boys have now in the northern Nigeria is not something to write about. Over some few years, over the decades, like you see that the WAEC, the JAM and NECO, our children used to write. Normally they used to be assisted in one way or the other by the schools, because now for you to enroll your child in a government school is now considered as something abnormal. So normally they are sent to the private schools, and from there they used to be assisted, thereby making them to feel relaxed. They will not read to prepare for their work. Rather, they prefer to be assisted and pass their work, which means that when they go to the university, they will not be good students, and that is where it is. So it means that the quality of education is very low, and each and every one of the society has something to do, because people that give the answers are in the society. They are not government officials. The principals, the proprietors of the schools that are managing all that are also part of the society. So we should also think about that. We should also try to discourage that activities so that the quality of education at secondary school level will also be high, because it is obvious enrollment of the girl child is not an issue now in the northern Nigeria. So thank you very much for the opportunity. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Mukhtar. Please, if you have any question, you can also write it on the chat, and then I will read it up. The next person I'll call is Bella Hassan. If you can make your own contribution or ask any question you have.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Mine is that the issue of this mentorship in the northern community, because nowadays our youth have taken the direction of taking their role models from their celebrities that you see on the social media and in the films. So I always talk about this wherever I get opportunity, that we have a lot of work to do regarding this issue of role model. The youth now, they are just considering the celebrities in the films and on the social media as their role models. So we have to really work hard to sensitize them and show them the way forward. And that is where you drive I mean, that is where they take the passion of this kind of just wanting to be rich overnight. A lot of things they get from there, and I really want to share it with everyone here on this stage that we have a lot of work to do to make them understand that if you want to look at a role model and copy something that will impact in your life positively, you don't have to look at that from social media or from the films that we used to watch. We have to look at it from the perspective of those successful academicians or successful technocrats in the government or successful people that have done well in their businesses. My other question has been answered regarding the sociocultural effect on girl child education already by the presenters. So thank you very much. This is my take.
Okay, thank you, Bella Hassan, for your contribution. The next person, I think probably the last, because we are running out of time. I'll call on Dr. Abba Usman, if you can speak.
Good afternoon, all.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the presentations. Mine is really not a question, it's a comment. Concerning the issue of this girls' child education and others, I think the society and parents have a great role to play in this aspect. If we take the parents, we will understand that a lot of times, especially in our northern communities, the parents are not regarding their female daughters as those that will prosper in life, because they already assume that these children, after they reach maybe some certain stage of life, they are going to give their hands in marriage. So this thing is psychologically affecting the woman or the children, because ab initio, they are not given the courage to plan their life ahead and make some impact. So I think in this regard, sensitization program and awareness to both parents, I think will immensely help in giving the children some courage, so that even in their schools, they will be performing well and they will know that, okay, they have a particular target to achieve later in their lives. Secondly, with regard to society also, it's also regarding sensitization and awareness to the society that these women, they are as important as we can't even imagine. They are so much important in the society. So it means that we should be well sensitized. We should be telling them that, okay, now the issue is not about a woman reaching. Everyone wants to see a woman reaching a particular target. For example, I'll just give an example. I'm a medical doctor. You realize that people will come to the hospital and they will then be looking for a female doctor, for instance, to check maybe to see their wives or their female relatives. But then if you ask them, okay, do you have a child? Do you have a girl in your house? Yes. Okay, are you willing to help her achieve their dream of becoming one of these health professionals? Then some of them will say no. So you will imagine, what is this happening? Someone wants female doctor or female health practitioner to be looking or checking his wife, but then he don't want a role, or he don't want to support his daughter to do this. So I think it's also quite challenging. The society needs to be aware. They need to be sensitized to know that these things, they are very important. Humans are very important. In fact, they constitute a larger aspect of our population. So I don't want to take much time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation, and I wish you all the best.
All right, thank you, Dr. Abba. I think I will call on Maimuna Yahya. Let's let one lady speak, and then I will have the closing remark. Maimuna Yahya, if you can unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum for this very great program, wonderful presentations. Actually, it's not a question I want to ask. I just want to give some kind of contribution regarding the girl child and the presentations made. You see, it's high time we stop depending only on the government for everything. I believe it's high time every community initiates some kind of support for the girl, not only the girl child. There are so many issues in society you can think of resolving or solving. But then we have a lot of working class ladies, educated ladies in the society. What have they done to their communities? If they can come up with a forum, come up with the idea of trying to kind of guide the girls or the ladies in the society, help them, I think we're going to solve a lot of problems.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Maimuna. Hawa, I think I will ask Hawa to talk. Let's have another lady.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I am Hawa Mustafa Babra, an early childhood education specialist from the United States speaking. I'm very sad that I'm joining in very, very late. It just ruined my Saturday, but that's okay. I just want to say that no matter what kind of education we give our girls, we must remember to incorporate social, emotional content into this education. We can give them an education and they can come out with a degree, not knowing how to apply for jobs, what to do. The number one issue in Hausa society, Arewa, I don't see this much in other parts of Nigeria, and I'm very much connected to youth in Nigeria, all parts of Nigeria. I see what I have been seeing is honestly lack of social emotional support, to where that our girls have a high level of self-reliance, self-esteem to prosper. So I just want to contribute this little much. Thank you for this effort.
Thank you, Atawa. She's actually my mother here in US. I didn't even know you had one. All right.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. I'll call on Abdul Majid if you can speak for just 1 minute, and then I'll call the person to do the closing remark.
Okay, thank you very much for the excellent presentation. I must give a kudos to the organizers of this great platform. So it's really educating, and I'm actually very happy to be part of this. My question is that in our society today, we all know what the problem is. Everybody knows that a child in the house knows that it's not right to take light. But we all know what is happening. We are all aware of the problem. But why is it that for a long time we have not been able to develop a mechanism of tackling these problems? Everybody knows the problem, but why is it that it's so complex for us to solve problems that look, simple? The girl-child education is one of it. And of course, like most of the presenters have said, an educated child is going to, in turn, have an educated home. And we are going to basically learn from our mothers. So educating the child is very important. So why is it that we have to look into ourselves and our society and see why is it that we can't solve our own problems? Like what is making things so difficult to solve? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Abdul Majid, for that question. I think I'll call on Prof. Sarkin Fada to, if he can answer your question, and then he will give us the closing remark.
Oh, I think the question was to the presenters.
Maybe, I don't know if you have an idea or something.
Yeah. I think to be fair, the question should be answered by the presenters and
okay.
Close a remark.
Is anyone willing to answer among the presenters?
Okay, let me go just to I will just first of all, I'm very much privileged to be here. I enjoyed and really enjoyed the discussions, and I can say that we have really achieved most of what the platform and the webinar is out to achieve. Especially with His Royal Highness, the opening presentation that is a reference presentation to all the issues that are to be discussed. It was very rich in the global overview of the girl-child education problem as he related it to the SDGs 4, 5, and 8, and particularly on the issue of malnutrition. That was really exciting. And the second issue about the policy issue at both the policy and governance structure at both the national, the local, and the state levels. Now, of course, his presentation has given us a very good reference to all the discussions, and we are really grateful for that. And to the rest of the presenters, Hajja Asma'u, Dr. Aisha, Professor Rabiat, Dr. Awal, I'm sure they all discussed very key issues on the challenges and the way forward to the girl-child education. So they were really very useful and valuable insights, and of course, suggestions on how to move forward. So we may not have to repeat what they said, but I'm sure we have some insights and some practical solutions that we can take forward. And if I may not preempt the presenters, I can summarize some few points in this remark that are the take-home messages. First of all, we need very practical solutions consistent with our problem, that are contextual with our settings. Just like His Royal Highness and other presenters have said, that we have to see how to innovate initiatives using mosques, Islamiyas as institutions for learning. And secondly, we need role models. Of course, this is what we are out to do, to serve as role models for the beneficiaries. And some have, I'm sure among the question and answer, one has mentioned celebrities and real models. Of course, this is not possible through without social mobilization to orient the girls who should be their mentors. And thirdly, the mentors have the duty to create and to invest that are consistent with our socio-cultural and economic settings. And of course, next point is that we need community engagement. Of course, programs for mentorship will be more viable if there are self-sustenance, and that could be only when community have ownership and they are engaged in such activity and initiative. And two last point I want to mention is about the language barrier. Of course, it is important. Some of the speakers have made it a point that we need to break out the language barrier in creating education in our local languages. That is a very good initiative also. And the last point now that Antahawa has made in social and emotional support for the girl child, they are very fundamental also. And of course, lastly, to the question of the last person who asked a question about the problems have been there, and then it seems that there is nobody to have found solution to it. I think the answer is embedded in all the issues we discussed in the presentation. Right from the initial presentation by His Royal Highness, we identified policy issue actually. Once the policy and the governance structure in the society does not support all this, does not give priority, okay, to these activities. It was mentioned practically that His Royal Highness did not hear any politician making a statement that he will educate girl child when he is brought to power. So these problems are policy issues, and it has root from the governance. And the governance have problems from the political structure and the political landscape and the system we are operating. So of course, if we have to correct this, it has bearing also to the political landscape and social mobilization, social reorientation on the political structure and landscape in order to link it up with the objectives of the girl child education. I don't want to give another lecture. I know it's a closing remark. I will finally thank the organizers, and I hope that we will come out with practical and viable models and activities that we can implement without much reliance of external support. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you once again.
Right. Thank you very much, Prof, for these key takeaway points. I think this brings us to the end of this session. Remember that we can continue these discussions on the AYMP Telegram. And for this, the link is there on the chat. You can always follow that link and continue the discussions. At the same time, a number of links have been pasted on the chart, so you can always get involved. Thank you very much. You've been an amazing audience. Thank you. So have a good day. Thanks. Bye.